on this program. Really privileged and happy to be talking to you, Mukesh. And I think the series that you are doing is going to be really helpful, and I'm sure people are going to enjoy what you're trying to showcase to the world. And real pleasure to be part of this session. So what I'm going to do is let me share my screen. I don't know if my is my screen visible?
I can see your screen. Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So, so my name is Ratna, and I have close to 25 plus years of experience. And as Mukesh said, we are four guys who started a company, SAP Services company in 2006, and it's almost 15 years. So we are pure play SAP Services company, Car Technologies, and KTern is a product. It's a separate entity, but we are focused more on the IP automation and digital transformation on the SAP space. So one of the things that we decided to do was, with the S/4HANA wave coming in, we worked on a platform for the last 4.5, 5 years, just to set a context before I get into the details. And we created a new category called DXRs. It's called Digital Transformation as a Service. Because we believe that digital transformation cannot be a one-time activity, or your move from your existing SAP base to the new SAP world cannot be a one-time activity, and it has to be continuous. And S/4HANA is the start for this whole way of doing your business and to the new world of leveraging the third platform, AI, ML, etc., right? So it's a start of the whole journey, and we thought it should be a continuous one. And that's why we came up with this unified platform. So here I'll be talking about KTern, and then about the DXR's automation platform, how it's data-driven and hyper-automated. And then I'm going to take one particular use case and show a demo of our platform. There are 5 streams, but I'll be able to show a demo on one use case. But if there is more interest, then I can take a specific demo or things like that. So that's the whole agenda. I'll take 40-45 minutes, and if you can grab your lunch, you can do.
I'm having a little bit of a trouble going live on LinkedIn. So while you start, I'm just trying to figure that out. Yeah, so there's some technical difficulties, but I'm recording this so that I can post it on LinkedIn, the recording as well. But I'll try and go live on LinkedIn right away as well. So
no issues. So about the platform itself, as you could see, we named it as DXRs, which is Digital Transformation as a Service. And the 2 keywords that we are primarily focused on is digital transformation and automation. These are the 2 primary keywords that we are focused on, and for the SAP space, by leveraging on the deep tech. When I say deep tech, it's more leveraging on huge data sets, and we do some intervention with the models that we have built to make better visualization in terms of what your existing data is and what we should do with that. So that's the whole idea of this platform. It's a unified platform. So let me see if I can get a pointer. Okay, that's fine. I'll just manage it with the mouse. So we have 5 streams as part of the platform. One is digital maps. The second one is projects, digital projects. Third one would be process. Fourth one is labs, and fifth one is minds. And the reason why we denote this is it's a continuous thing. It's not a one-time activity. It's not a one-time, you do it, you do an implementation, and then it moves on. That's not how it is, because the pace at which the business changes, the pace at which technology is evolving, there has to be a continuous intervention in terms of your SAP landscape. That's the whole idea. Maps primarily would, I mean, if you have to equate it to Google Maps and you are at a source or you're at a starting point and considering that's ECC and you want to move to S4HANA, what's the best optimal route that you can take based on the data that you have? So you want to drive from here to Bangalore, and what are the best options? Well, of course, Bangalore, everyone would be able to say how it goes, but when you have a huge landscape with the BW, CRM, ECC, and different versions, OS, database, what is the optimal route? And that's not based on discretion or anything. Or we'll be able to connect our platform to your existing data. And with the data, it would be able to provide you with visualization that you can make business reasons on why you should go. And we have got a whole suite there as part of digital maps. So that's so if you're someone who's looking at ready to move and you do not know where to start, digital maps would come into play. So it does lots of process discovery, and it doesn't depend upon any workshop or the normal way of doing it. So the whole idea is to democratize the transformation, the old way of doing and the new way of doing with the latest technology. That's the whole platform all about. So that's digital maps. Projects is again your collaboration hub where you have different SAP methodologies by which you could drive it. We are a big fan of SAP Activate, and the different methodologies for success factor, Ariba, or whatever version you want to move from, be it ECC to a brownfield, greenfield, or a selective data transformation. So you have a set of tasks and activities and a methodology that's completely automated here. So we bring in that map, and where you can assign users and do it real time. So it's not like a static Microsoft project plan. It's like a real dynamic where the bots that we have would give you a what-if scenario in terms of governing the whole project. So, and you could do lots of collaboration with your different teams across the globe. So that's the digital products, and all this is in one platform. Third comes the process. The whole idea is we're trying to break down the process in terms of, so we have like industry maps for different verticals. And if you're starting new, you could take that as a baseline. Or if you have an existing set of processes, it could be LOB wise or vertical wise, industry wise. And we would juxtapose that with the best practices that we have in our universe, and then say, okay, these are the process recommendations that you can do for the new world. Or if there is a new feature set that has come out of SAP and you're not able to, you're not aware of it, then the system would prompt you on the new processes. And if you have customized few things, and that's standard as part of the SAP release, then that's possible. So that's a process part of it. Then comes lab. So we are covering the entire life cycle of how an SAP customer would do their transformation, right? So you might want to test it often. You might want to test it when you move. So we have a testing platform, which is called Digital Labs. Again, the approach we have taken, it's more integrated with the SAP system. So it could prompt for the data sets. It could come up with the number of testing scenarios that you should be able to test it. And also, we have also developed a unique IP called VVV, which I can talk about it in detail, which is value, volume, and velocity. So depending upon transaction, which takes the highest priority, or in other sense, the business critical processes that you want to test before you go live, and the rest of the process can. So basically about optimizing the resources that you have in hand and what should be tested before you move from one world to the new world. That covers in the digital labs. And fourth is digital minds, which is during the operations it kicks in, or during the run mode, if I can say that. And that is continuously about the releases and changes that happens within the SAP landscape, and how do you identify those changes? What are the cases that needs to be tested? And also there is an attempt that's in a beta stage. There's an attempt to do the business ops optimization, and that's slated for a release by July of this year. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. So the whole idea is to bring in the SAP customers, the system integrators, partners, and our own bots that we launch as part of all these streams that helps you in the transformation and the automation, and then be your companion in terms of ensuring that the ROI of the implementation that you do is the investments that you have made or better realized sooner and faster. That's the whole idea of this platform. Again, it's built on an automation platform called DXS. That's our framework on which we have built it. It's again a low-code platform, and it's business user friendly. It doesn't have to be like traditionally you need 5 to 6 guys to drive it with the tools that's available in the market, but this is more business user friendly. So anyone who has basic knowledge of SAP should be able to drive it, right? So that's the whole idea. And the core engine that drives it is HANApedia, which is a knowledge base. The whole idea is system integrators would do 10 projects, and after 10 projects, they still will not have access to their files and things like that, right? So what we said was, if you're able to manage all the files, the issues, the test cases at one unified place, we could run some algos on it and create a knowledge base for you that you could have people who are joining new take up things and drive it faster. So if you're in a particular phase of your transformation and you take the activate methodology, and then it would pop up lots of support documents and other things by which a consultant should be able to drive the transformation. That's the idea of HANApedia knowledge base. And then we have, I spoke about it, materiality analysis, more of the business critical process existing in your current system. And then we brought in the activate, the global scope items. S12 it was called BPML, but we've got the global scope items covered as part of the system, where it could prompt depending upon the industry or the LOB that you're working on. And then, of course, the business ops engine, which is part of the digital minds, and I'll be showing a demo there in terms of how we do the process discovery, the process mining part of it. And it's just not a tool for the IT, but it's completely for the business and the SMEs, where people can be part of this whole thing. They know the process that's been deployed and how things are working. KPIs can be measured, and that's the whole idea. And then you also get to see the process that's currently mapped. The whole platform is non-invasive. One of the things that we did, I've been in SAP, the other 4 or other 3 directors or the co-founders have been in SAP for a long time. So we said we'll do it differently. The approach is different, seamless, faster. So it's non-invasive. All we need is a connectivity to your production system or a copy of the production system to drive this. And it's SaaSified. It's on the SaaS. It's a SaaS platform. It's available. You can go ahead and give it a try. And then you have workflows and approvals, right? The important part for a system integrator is to get a approval, workflow, rules. All that could be configured as part of driving the digital transformation. It could be as simple as a release, or it could be as great as a implementation driven, and all that is completely digitized, right? So that's a platform about. Sorry. Okay, and again, this is our own methodology that we came up with so many years of experience, and having done SAP implementation for the last 15 years as a company, and then on an individual role for a longer time. But yeah, so this is basically the methodology that we follow, and these are the different streams that we have to manage the entire life cycle in terms of how you want to drive it. And the whole thing has been done with the latest technology, so that the approach is completely different in terms of how you want to drive it. That would result in more success for an SAP implementation and also in the run mode. So that's the whole idea of this platform. So it started from assess and plan, execute and govern, orchestrate it, prepare and test, and simulate and optimize. So right from the discovery mode to the run mode, we've got you covered. And you could start anywhere. You could start with the projects, you could start with the testing part of it, or you could want to optimize your current business processes or understand the change impact. you could start anywhere, right? So that's the whole idea of this platform. So before I jump into the demo, these are few credentials I should say. It's available as part of the SAP store. It's part of the G2 review platform. And it's again qualified for a partner package solution. So we work with the different partners across the globe, both Technology Alliance and VAR partners. They're partners who sell it in different parts of the globe by adding to their consulting. But yeah, this is what it is. We have analyzed huge sets of data and have our algo work on it, and also have a self-learning algo in terms of what are the different test cases, how the custom objects could be remediated when you move. So we have quite a lot of bots deployed as part of the platform, which takes care of the entire life cycle. Again, these are the different use cases, right? You want to move from an existing world of SAP to a new world. It could be S4 HANA or from 1606 or to the 2020, or ECC, HP7, 8 to SAP S4 HANA, or you want to move to move just the database, you want to do a selective data transformation. So any kind of use case can be handled. Yeah, but primarily today I'm going to talk more about the release and upgrade planning, not talk about it. I'm going to show a demo of the platform in a few minutes from now. And again, these are some leading logos that we have put in. As I mentioned, there's quite a lot of customer base and partner base globally that we are working with. This is again our global presence about us, and what I'm going to focus today is more about the SAP change, and right. So SAP change, I'm sure it comes in different ways, right? A change of ABAP code, or you have a customization and you do a release every 2 weeks or every month or every quarterly. You want to know what's going to break or what is going to run properly. Do we need to have the mentality of test all, or find out the gaps in terms of creating the new test cases, or do we need to do more in terms of manual work? So all that part of release management is completely automated using our package. So these are the different scenarios when a change occurs in your existing system, right? An application of SAP Node, or it could be a SAP support package, it could be an enhancement package that you wanted to upgrade, or a hotfix that you have, or activation of a add-on or a business function, or even the bigger move of upgrading to SAP S4 HANA. It could be the BPI process mining model. So what primarily is happening is, of course, there are traditional tools that could do it, but not the way that we do, in terms of easy and in terms of giving a business flavor to it and easily understandable by the business and not by a set of people. So that's what I'm going to demo today as part of this, but just to give set a context why we are doing it, right? Why is that we should do it? And if you've been in SAP projects are not like a set of 100 to-do list or a list of task items, right? It involves business, it involves SAP themselves as a company, it involves a system integrator, and then contractors, and you got to drive the whole investment in SAP across these three things. Of course, cost being the middle factor, time, scope, and quality. So primarily, been in this business, have worked with lots of customers, partners, and we felt there is a pain area, and that's the reason why we built this, to make the life of the SAP verse or the SAP universe better and easier. So it's initially it was an empathetic view in terms of our consultants going back and trying to find out what has broken, what has changed, and then trying to work with bases, ABAP fellows, function consultants, and then not sure what has changed or what is impacting the release. And most of the time, the CIOs are not going to authorize the release or approve the release that's going to happen, be a quarterly release or whatever, right? So things have changed, right, in terms of trying to find out how we could do it. So these are the 4 or 3 things. It has a scope view, it has a time and a quality perspective. If you really look at the questions that's put there, how do I even identify that, right? So we've got this release intelligence and what we could do with that. Basically understand what's going to break or what is not going to break, what are the test cases that will work, what are the processes that will not work, and eventually ensuring that the end user experience is better in terms of the release management that happens. Again, the amount of benefits that you could look at is, of course, a huge headache in terms of the effort, bring down the risk, and ensure all users are aligned in terms of the release impact that's happening. So that's the whole idea of the release intelligence. Again, the use cases, we did mention about it. Whenever a transport release happens, configuration updates, change management, FP upgrades, or EHP upgrades, it doesn't matter. So we cover all that. The primary thing that we have is once that is happening, what are the processes that gets impacted, the test cases that is impacting, the users who will be involved, or the roles that will be involved in this change, and how the whole thing can be visualized in a dashboard, and what you should do as an action item, and what are the next steps in terms of creating the new test cases. Because most of the time, you might have run the change for 6 months and you do it in the 7th month of release, you do not know where the test cases are, and you do not know if test cases have been created. And mostly the business critical things are tested, and then on the run mode, support tickets are raised. So we thought prevention is better, then the release is better in terms of how you plan and how you use the data to make it happen. So that's the whole idea here. Again, we use the third platform in terms of process mining, in terms of data discovery, in terms of having the new age cloud. It's a SaaS product, new age AML models, in terms of trying to understand where and what should be done before you do a release. These are few screenshots, but yeah, I'll go to jump to the demo and then come back to this later. So, all right. So this is our website. It's KTern.com. Before I get into the website, right, and you see all the streams here: maps, projects, process.
Ratna, if you can just zoom a little bit, it's too small for people to read. So.
Was the presentation also the same way, or is it okay?
No, presentation was okay. This one was a little too small.
Is it okay?
Yeah, that's good now. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so KTern.com is the website, and these are the different products that we have: maps, projects, process, labs, and minds. I spoke about it. We have a huge set of interesting articles, resources. Pricing is quite open. Again, we want to democratize the way the transformation happens, and we also wanted to be upfront in terms of how we price it. Take a look at it, and we do host quite a lot of webinars, drive events. We recently did a roadshow about the whole thing. So take a look at it. Set of partners. We have Technology Alliance partners. The other thing that we do is, we tie up with the SAP partners globally, either on the technology side or on the reselling option. So that's also available, consulting partners. And since it's a SaaS product, you have a demo application that's available that you can log in and take a look, and that would be demo.ktern.com. We'll post it in the comment, LinkedIn live comment once Mukesh publishes that. But yeah, that's something that you can just enter your email and take a look at what we have. It is again part of the SAP store, right? So we wanted, we are pretty much aligned with SAP in terms of how we want to drive it. So it's part of the SAP store, and we try and sell it globally. So with this, let me log into the application. As I mentioned earlier, this is the application. It's available.
So you'll have to zoom again because it's too small. I don't think people can read anything on the screen.
Okay, trying.
Usually 175 or 200% works best on Chrome.
70, what's the zoom?
175. 175. Yeah, this is good now. Thanks.
That's a real test for the application. Anyway, so right. So this is like I mentioned, it's a SaaS product. It's hosted on the cloud. We have deployment options for Azure, AWS, BTP, SAP BTP, or GCP. It doesn't matter. But currently, we used different hypercloud in terms of driving this whole change. It's a cloud-only product, but in few cases, initially we were driving for the private cloud, but primarily it's a SaaS product. And as I mentioned, there's a workspace, and for any SAP community, right, the functional, technical, whether they're in the project run mode, it's all about task, issues, test cases, right? So all that is covered as part of your workspace. So you using this platform during the pandemic, we had at least 10 to 15 projects that were handled, and 3 of them in US went live, where people were working in a remote space, and you could collaborate. You could do quite a lot in terms of the application itself. And it's got a dashboard, the complete control center in terms of driving it. I mean, since I'm zooming it, so I'm not sure how your look or use and feel is here. But anyway, let me do this. So you've got the resource utilization, the work outcome tracker, and quite a lot in terms of what. So you have the complete users as part of this whole platform. So all SAP users could be part of it, or you could have the complete team as part of importing your organization. So you can have a complete organization here. Your risk can be maintained. It could be mitigated here. It prompts you. It sends you emails, notifications, all that good part, and all the file storage that you use in a particular implementation, right? So that's but I'm not getting into the detail of all the streams. I wouldn't justify on the timing that I have. Each of these streams is like a 1-hour presentation in terms of showing the demo and the questions. So I'm skipping maps, projects, process labs, and I'm going to the 5th stream, which is mines, and which is something that I wanted to show it briefly. But before that, why is it cognitive? Why is it non-invasive? How is it that we are able to connect? This is the one that does the trick, right? All that you have to do is there is a connector that you have to download. So once you buy a license, you can download it from here. And then you could like how you connect to a SAP GUI, you could just call a SID ID and the application server instance client, and then submit. It gets connected. That's it, right? So once it's connected, then the streams comes into play. You wanted to do a scan, you can do a scan before the release, or before a complete upgrade, or before an EHP upgrade. So you want to scan, you want to find out what the data says. I mean, I'm sure the SAP consultants are great, but let's look at the data, and let's present the data in a way that people are able to understand, in a way that the CIOs are able to understand, in a way that the customer CIOs are able to appreciate and understand the process profiling, how things are connected, what are the different purchase units, what are the different sales units, how is it in my system, how is my business model in the SAP system. So all that, you get it based on your data size. It takes from anywhere 1 day to a week's time, basically. That's the whole idea of digital maps. But again, as I mentioned, I'm going into digital mines. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to just talk about this one use case. We have quite a lot of use case covered as part of our platform, right? If I go back to my earlier slide, quite a lot of use cases, but I'm going to talk about a release and upgrade planning. And here I am. So what basically we do is, once I'm connected to the SAP system, and then you are part of a and basically our platform is talking to your SAP system in a very cognitive way. So all this is a set of bots that we deploy, and it runs at the application layer. So all that I have to do is I have to add a bot, right? Change impact mind. So that's a bot. So there are a set of bots that we deploy and give some name that, there's a release happening, what is the mining type. I also talk about the different, the comparison between the quality and the production system, where you wanted the, typically it would have moved from development to quality environment, and what are the bots that should be deployed. And this this is, configurable. So based on your business scenarios, it could be done. And then it's also autonomous in the sense, the idea is whenever a change is, or whenever a release happens, I could tell my bot to keep looking at it and say, okay, start the run and tell me what's happening right now in my system. Or I could schedule it for different dates, or I could select a set of specific transports to analyze and see what has changed. Again, we have got integrations covered with leading products, UiPath Test Manager, or whatever, Solvent, could be anything, but we have got that covered. But in this use case, it's UiPath Test Manager. And I launched my bot. So once I launch my bot, what is happening is it kind of gives me the list of impacts or what has happened. If there's any, so it covers on 5 to 6 areas, right? So there is a technical bot that runs trying to read the objects. Then it tries and maps it to the process that you have, because you want to talk to an SME and in a company, and you cannot talk on the custom object or a Z language. It has to be business process. So it tries and does a visualization at the process level. And then there is this quality assurance or the digital assurance team, which needs to understand what is the test cases that's impacted and the gaps that are there. And then the whole organization change, right? We talk about OCM, but SAP always brings in a whole organization change. How do you manage it? Who are the users? What are the roles? And how do we communicate to them? Things are changing for you in terms of how you run your daily business. And then if it is not covered, right, the whole idea is to say, okay, there is a gap. Boss, you have like 100 test cases, right? But because of the new release, there is another 30 test cases that you need to create, and someone has to tell that. Either the consultants have to say that, or the data has to say that, or SAP has to. That's what you're trying to do here. You're trying to say, okay, go ahead and create another 30 test cases, then you're covering the changes, right? So that's the whole idea, and that's what this does. So if you really look at it, these are different runs that we have, right? So these are some things that has run as successfully. So let me just go ahead and launch one, and hopefully it fits into this zoomed out. So what it does is basically, it kind of shows you the change impact analysis, the technical impact, the processes that is impacted, and the test case impact, right? So right, so this is on the fly. So if you really look at it, and I'll select, assuming that I've selected a set of transports. I did not do it the autonomous way, or I did not schedule it, and I've selected a set of transports. And if I look at it, the customizing task and how it is, the different data that it has handled, and what has changed in terms of the tables, in terms of the data dictionary, in terms of the custom projects or programs. Of course, because of the zoom out thing, I'm not able to show you, but you can like monitor it on the fly.
Ratna, if it is impacting the demo, then you can probably zoom, go back and zoom in as well. But people can't read anything. That's the point. Nothing else.
I'll take a in between route. Is that okay? Is this okay?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So typically, I'm not a left or a right, Mukesh. I'm always in the center. So taking a mid path here, right? So if you look at it here, right? So it's got a change impact analysis. So it says the number of objects that have been covered as part of this bot run is 757. The transports analyzed is 21. Transport timeline, who ran it, what, how many bots, and what are the different process steps. Like when I said process steps, we are trying to say the T code at the last level, right? It could be a T code, or it could be a set of business processes aggregated as order to cash or procure to pay, or it could be a delivery challan, or it could be advanced shipping notification. It doesn't matter, right? So it goes through and analyzes at the process level and tells the business, on the different areas, right? So what are the different financial accounting, different areas which is impacted, and what are the different impacted cases? What are the cases that are high impact, medium impact, low impact, or critical impact? And critical impact is something that you want to immediately create a test case and run it, or with the low impact, you might want to just go ahead and do your release. So these kind of analytics is what we provide, and then also allow you to act on that one. And then if you look at the quality assurance or the team, so out of these impacted test cases, there is a gap of around 51 test cases that is a gap, and only 3 test cases. So out of 54, there's a huge gap in terms of test cases that's not tested because of the new release that has come out, right? That's a huge thing for you. Instead of going around and trying to meet with consultants and say what is missing, what is not missing, it's going to save a huge time and cost in terms of how you're driving it, right? And then a view on the impacted business process steps, which I mentioned earlier, create purchase order or the fast order entry. And then we don't call users, because this is top impacted business stakeholders who are driving the SAP configuration. So the subject matter experts, the business side of it, not just the IT side of it, and who is impacted, and then of course different visualization in terms of high impact, low impact, and what you have to do with that. And typically, I mean, this is SAP GUI, but it can be extended to the other user elements of SAP as well. So that's at the highest level. But when I get into the technical impact of it, right? So what, of course, there are filters in terms of how you want to filter it and what you want to do. But typically, it could be standard objects or a set of custom objects. And if you drill it down, it gets into the details of what is impacted, what is not impacted, and what is the so typically if I go to mostly finance gets affected, right? So so it gives all the user information, it gives all the process level information, which objects are affected, and so it goes on like that. So it will be more at the program, the transaction, the SAP GUI level. I could search for a high impact. So there's one here, critical impact VA03. And if you look at the configuration changes, what is actually changed here, that could be looked at, and the users that are impacted, the roles that are impacted, that would also come up here, right? So let me just go back to my 100%. I just zoomed out just to show how it has scanned the objects and telling you the different objects that has changed. And we completely take the T-bomb. If you've used PPCA, then there is a T-bomb and the dynamic bomb that gets created. That's something that we do it on the fly with not many involvement from the consultant side, right? So let me go back to the bigger zoom. Right. And so the next part of this whole demo would be the process impact, right? So as I mentioned earlier, it's not enough if we just talk about at the Z object level. It should be more mapped to the process. So a finance LOB can know what has been impacted. So we also give a process view of what has changed and what is a critical impact and things like that. So that's something that we do. And then the final part of the test impact, right? So primarily the reason why we are doing it is, we always, before a release happens, we always have a test stall mentality, right? So when we did the implementation, we had like 1,000 test cases. So whenever we do a release, we have to test all those 1,000 test cases. But the best part is most of them forget to create the new test cases that is, or not a valid test case that gets created for the new changes that has come in, because there is a continuous churn of people who are handling the system and things like that. Right. So the primary reason why we are doing it is to find out what are the fits in terms of the test cases and what are the gaps, right? So the gaps will be like, so these are test gaps in terms of running it and telling, hey, listen, you have a set of huge gaps and you got to go and create a test requirement. This is something that you can do. You can create test requirements from here. That goes into as part of our digital labs, which is basically the testing suite of KTern, or it could be integrated with the UiPath Test Manager. Our primary integration is with UiPath Test Manager because we feel it's quite a lot of latest technology and automation involved in UiPath Test Manager compared to the erstwhile testing tool. So we have got an integration done with UiPath Test Manager. Of course, that's reserved for another day. But yeah, that's a whole idea of driving this particular stream. So I had 45 minutes, so I pretty much have covered everything. So just to summarize, it's a SaaS product. It's available on the cloud. The demo system is available. You could go and take a look at it. And if you want a trial version, let me know or let my team know, and we'll be happy to connect with your trial systems. So essentially what we have done is these are the different test cases as part of this platform. And yeah, and I just demoed one test case for you. We spoke about all this, and again, we have integrations with UiPath Test Manager, so you could see, where the change impact analysis gets done and the testing requirements are created here, and then people can continue with the test automation. So just to summarize, your digital assurance or your quality assurance in terms of how you run your you run your enterprises, and what are the different things, who are the users who are impacted, better user satisfaction. You don't have to have those nervous moments of whether we need to release or not release, and do a test all mentality, find the gaps, and of course we have collaboration as part of this whole application, where I could do a no-go decision in terms of release happening or not. I did not demo that part, but if you look at it, it is where I did mention about digital sign-offs that you could do. Could be integrated with DocuSign, or you could do it on your own. You could create your own workflow, and it's low-code platform, so business users can just click it and call the users to go ahead and say if there's a go, no go. So if you get a green everywhere, then you kind of go ahead with the release. If not, then yeah, you basically do some collaboration in terms of understanding who's spending what, and right. So there is quite a lot in terms of managing. You can manage a workshop, calendars, task issues, test cases, agile way of doing business, not the waterfall. Activate is a combined way of waterfall and agile, so that's possible. So accelerated change management, better release audit and governance on the releases that you do. Of course, all that we are doing is to reduce the cost and have a better bottom line, and have on-time delivery and on-cost release delivery. Again, this is a platform by a set of 2,000 SAP guys who've been in this business for close to 20-25 years, right? So these are certain set of resources on the digital minds and labs. And again, if you go to our website, you'll be able to find a lot of information in terms of how we drive this. It's available as part of SAP Store, G2 review, right? So so again, Mukesh, thank you very much. I will open it up for any questions that you guys have, and that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thanks, Ratna. Any questions for people from people who are on the call? I have a question. You mentioned that you've already had an integration with UiPath. So what about in SAP's Intelligent RPA? So is your tool integrated to that as well?
It can be deployed as part of BTP. So if there is a use case that's coming up, we should be able to do it, but we haven't really got a use case. It's all open API microservices based architecture, so we should be able to like do it in a week's time, the integration. So it's so, I mean, we have leveraged the best of both the worlds, SAP as a package enterprise solution, and then we have got this third platform technology that we are good at, so we married that. So that shouldn't be a possibility, but currently we don't have Mukesh.
And since it's a SaaS application, I'm assuming that if a customer wants to start using it, they can try it, and if they like it, they can directly go ahead and buy and start implementing right away. No implementation, no big configuration, just connect your system and start using, right?
Absolutely. So this is where you can go to our website, you can say get started, and you get started, right? Or you do a log. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So the question then is, typically where do you see your customers start their journey from? So is that you said 5 tools, right? So typically, which is the least path of highest value for customers?
Well, it depends upon the journey that they are in, Mukesh. Like if they are in the older version of SAP and they want to move a new version, the starting point would be digital maps. So there's quite a lot of usage on the digital maps to understand what their data is, because the systems which has been running for 20 years, 15 years, and people have changed, moved on, not enough documentation. So what do we do with the data that is there, and how do we make sense of it? So that's where the starting point is. But yeah, I mean, the people who want to do it on the run mode, like one which I showed on the release side, right? So that is also possible. So the uptake is on at many places. So they can start anywhere, wherever they are in part of their transformation journey.
And by using this, does this actually create any additional license requirements for the customers from an SAP point of view? Of course, they have to buy license from you, but is there a, in terms of indirect taxes or any other licenses, are they involved?
We are covered on the indirect license, so we don't really do a write or anything. It's all the standard APIs that we read. So we are good on that one. It's been certified by SAP before moving into SAP Store. It's a SAP product, right? So there's nothing on the indirect license, and customers doesn't have to buy anything.
Okay, so I can see that there are certain similarities between what your tool does and what Solution Manager does, or landscape transformation does for SAP customers as well. So what do you think, where do you think are the differences in terms of, between these products?
No, we always get this question, and even when we started and when I go for my funding rounds, I encounter this question. But my quick answer and then elaborate answer would be like the different ways on how you can look at the SAP system, and we have a different approach, and the way we present, the ease at which it can be done. These are the things that we are betting on, the experience part of it, and the intervention of the third technology. So it's something that can work with Solman if someone is very keen on the Solman, or if someone is wanted to use the tools of SAP, that's a possibility. But we just wanted to do it in a different way, and the huge aspiration point for us is, they were like 1,500 help desk tools before Freshdesk started their tool, and they're $1 billion company, right? So how you approach and what you do, what you can do with the latest technology is a huge thing for us. And streams wise, I can go on the differentiation, but that's for another call, Mukesh. But yeah, that's at a higher level in terms of how we strategize this platform.
Okay, I'm still waiting to see if there are any questions on the chat. So I don't see any. Maybe one final question before we can actually kind of conclude our conversation with you is, if someone wants to interact with you after having watched this recording, because this recording will be shared with number one on LinkedIn and number two with all the Indus members as well. So how should they go about it? If they want to talk to you, how can they reach you?
Well, I mean, through the website, or I could also, Mukesh, after this call, or LinkedIn, I'm very active on LinkedIn. They could drop a comment or a message, or they could come to our website, and there is a customer success portal. They could reach out through that. But if there is something else, I mean, my WhatsApp number, I'm all open to be talking to people who are excited about the new technology and the SAP as well, Mukesh. So yeah.
Okay, super. Unfortunately, because of some technical reason, I do not know why, but LinkedIn did not support us today. So it was not live on LinkedIn, but it is recorded. So I will publish the recording on LinkedIn and write a blog post based on whatever you've shared today. And I'll tag you on that and tag all the other, you can then, if you want to share or tag someone else, please feel free to do so. Monday or Tuesday, I will also be sending an email out to all Indus members or communication through all the different groups that I run for Indus, link to all the sessions that we've done this week. So your session link will also go to them. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Mukesh.
Okay, then. Thank you so much for your time and insights.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will stay in touch. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.